You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. We never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can. We're Americans.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. It is good to be back with you. Hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving week. I hope you actually remembered what Thanksgiving is for. the real purpose behind it.
You mean Black Friday?
And actually spent that time with the people you love and care about and showed them how thankful you are for them.
So wait, you mean it's not about the Black Friday sales that start on Thursday?
No.
Are you sure? Because
I'm pretty sure.
That's what all the commercials say.
Look, I don't begrudge anybody going out and doing that if that's what they really love to do. But I'll tell you right now, this boy is not going out and doing that. Forget about it.
Did you just say boy? You racist.
I know. And I am so glad you said that, Rick, because I just had an interesting conversation today on Twitter. And for those of you that don't follow me on Twitter, you really should. You're missing out on the freak show if there ever was one. It's at TCC_Grouchy. Do yourself a favor. Hit the follow button. I will almost always follow back unless you're trying to sell Twitter followers or propagate Danjeet Kumar news on my timeline. Other than that, you pretty much get followed back. So I'm one of those guys that it's fun. It's not always great, but it's always fun. So anyway, I had this chat going on today with this we'll call him a gentleman of color, for lack of a better term. He told me that nobody other than blacks are capable of identifying racism properly. And I actually took screenshots of it because I was just so stunned, just absolutely stunned that somebody could be so incredibly ignorant. And then actually had the nerve to backpedal on himself and say that he never said that, to where I screenshotted and repasted his own words, to which he told me that I can't read. Yeah, pretty sure I do all my prep myself here. I don't have a team like Hannity or Megyn Kelly or any of those people. Pretty sure.
What am I, chopped liver?
Go ahead, Rick.
What am I, chopped liver? No team?
Well, I was going to say, you can vouch for me here. When you are prepping your show, do you have a team of people doing your research and writing your content for you?
No, I usually do it myself.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay. Now that's what I was getting at. Rick's obviously good at twisting the knobs and pushing the buttons on the other end. This is a trick I haven't learned yet because I am an old dog and it is a new trick. So, but I'm gonna put the effort into it and gonna learn how to do it so that I can cut Rick loose and he can actually spend a little more time with his family.
You just fired me on air. You realize that, right?
No, I did not fire you. I did not fire you. Quit being racist.
I'm a white guy. I'm the only one. I'm the only one in this conversation that can be racist, apparently.
Well. Apparently, according to this gentleman, me being mixed race does not qualify me to be able to identify racism properly. Because according to him, 99.8% of racism is apparently directed at only blacks. And so only they have the unique perspective of what actually is racism.
Yeah, because groups like La Raza don't exist.
Right, exactly. He said that is an antiquated definition. I promptly copied and pasted the Merriam-Webster definition of racism, which is basically the promulgation of any race above another.
So you copied and pasted the white man's dictionary. He's not going to listen to that.
Well, of course not, because I don't know. Maybe I should have gone to Urban Dictionary and copied their definition and pasted it, because it reads almost identically. Just for kicks,
I don't know. I probably would have done that, but I'm a bit of a smart aleck. So anyway, have your show back. I've just been having some fun with you.
No, it's good. It was a great segue into this, because I was going to mention it anyway. But apparently, you can't. Even as a white person, Rick, if you see Klansmen in robes and hoods burning crosses, you can't identify that properly as racism.
That's about all that. That's about all that deserves.
I mean, this was the gist of his conversation with me, and I told him at the end. I just looked at the words on the screen, and I was just shaking my head, I grew up in South Florida, the very southern tip of Florida, down in Dade County, as a kid in the 70s, and I was not white enough to be white. I was not brown enough to be brown, and the Native American Indian in me was not red enough to be red for anybody. So, a lot of my friends were from all different races. I had a lot of black friends. I had a lot of Hispanic friends. I didn't have a lot of Native American friends because there just weren't a lot of us down there. Not in that part of the state. But, and, I had white friends too. And it was a beautiful thing, because we all played together. We did things together as kids. We were kids. We didn't allow the stupidity of hate and the difference of the pigmentation in our skin to dictate what should and should not be. When one of us fell down and scraped our arm or knee, the blood was all red. When somebody got cut, it didn't matter what color their skin was, they had a scar. It just absolutely floors me that anybody of any color can sit there and say such ignorant things. You can't identify racism properly because you've never had it cast upon you like black men have had it. Well, that doesn't mean that I can't identify it. I've never been indifferent to racism. I've always abhorred it. I hate it with a passion. It's some of the dumbest shit in the world. I know poor white trash that isn't worth throwing water on if it's on fire. I mean, they're just that kind of people. You hate to be that way, but they're the kind of people that if you saved them, they'd be mad at you for letting them get burnt to start with. And it doesn't matter if they're white or black, because I know blacks that are the same way. And I know Hispanics that are the same way. And I know Asians that are the same way. I've seen it all my life. And, the one of the best things about combating racism, or if you really want to go somewhere where racism doesn't exist, if you're really set, if you think you just have to get away and go somewhere where it doesn't exist, join the United States military. I promise you, they couldn't give one crap less what color your skin is. You do the job, you get recognized for doing the job. You don't do the job, you get chastised for not doing the job. They don't care what color you are. I had a young white man that was under my authority in the military that had to go home. He was not fit for military duty, and we forcibly separated him from the service because he couldn't do the job. I didn't care that he was white. I wouldn't have cared if he was black or brown or red. It doesn't matter. Be the person that you want the world to see. If you go around playing the victim card your whole life, you're never going to get anywhere, because that just puts you on the lowest common denominator level with the morons you're fighting against. And guess what? If you're both zeros on a scale of 0 to 10, no one's ever going to get it. And that's enough of that. But as we move on to the attack at Ohio State, we kind of have to keep race in the back of our mind a little bit. Not that not that the attack was racially motivated, but you get what I'm saying here. So we have this student at Ohio State, this quote unquote troubled young man who put all kinds of warning signs out there that he was absolutely sick and tired of how Muslims were being treated around the world. So he specifically cited other countries where Muslims are in his eyes, were being treated unfairly. And his apparent solution to this problem was to get in a vehicle with a knife and drive into a crowd of people and then get out and start cutting them. Now, I have not seen a list of the victims. I do not know how many were white, how many were black, if any of them were Muslim themselves. I don't know. I don't care. Because this man went to the lowest common denominator. He sunk that far. Now, do I feel sorry for him? No, I don't. No, I don't. He put people in danger, and he would have continued to harm and possibly kill people had the officer on scene not done what he had done. So I do applaud the officer for taking the swift action. This man got what he got because he did what he did. Okay? And if you don't get that this world owes you nothing, and that your choices generate your consequences, and you have to own it, then you're nowhere. You're absolutely nowhere. Now, I don't have a whole lot to say about this Ohio State thing at this point in time. It's pretty cut and dry as far as I'm concerned. Guy goes nuts, drives into people, gets out, starts cutting people with his knife, and gets killed by a cop with a gun. I have no problems with this. There are, however, people out there on social media who shall remain nameless, but let's just say that he went on Tucker Carlson's show on Fox News. Why Tucker actually gave this moron any kind of airtime, I have no idea. But this fraud that blocks me because I exposed his hypocrisy about a year ago, and he's screaming that the police officer is being paraded as a hero. And first of all, I've seen no parade. I haven't seen anybody dragging him out into the limelight. He was identified as the officer that was on scene, and people thanked him for doing his job. I don't consider that parading him around as a hero. Now, I am quite certain that this young officer, and he is a young officer, he did what he felt was right. He in his moment, and he's actually been through terrorism training. This is the beauty part of it. This is what a lot of people don't know. He's actually been through IDF-sponsored terrorism training. Okay? And part of the class was teaching them how to react and what to do in a situation where you were on scene alone and didn't have time to wait for backup officers. This is beautiful. Okay? Because what you have to do is you have to stop the terrorist from hurting more people, plain and simple. Whatever it takes. And that's what he did. And I'm sure that this young officer has a conscience, and I'm sure that he questions himself at least a little bit on the inside. Now, he may never tell us that, and I hope that nobody ever has to be in the situation where they have to pull the trigger and put somebody down like an animal because that's what they're acting like. Because it's one thing to shoot at targets on the range and to be prepared. It's quite another thing to actually take a human life. And you can say what you will, but until you do it, until you absolutely pull the trigger and take somebody out of this world, don't tell me what you would do. Because you don't know. So congratulations to the officer for doing his job right, protecting the public safety. And to the nameless coward who has me blocked on Twitter, that Tucker Carlson absolutely shredded. I know you're not listening, but maybe somebody can tweet to this moron and tell him to actually put a real picture of himself on his Twitter page, on his bio, because if you saw him on Tucker Carlson's show, he's about 40 pounds heavier than the picture he sports on Twitter. Anyway.
Well, you know, I'm not going to mention his name either, but the interesting thing is since he doesn't have me blocked yet, I can actually see his feed, and from his perspective, it was the exact opposite. He feels like he owned Tucker, which I think is kind of funny.
That is hilarious, because if you listen to it, there ain't nothing but Tucker just taking the lead on him. So I don't find it odd that he would think that he owned Tucker Carlson. He is one of those people that anybody that sees anything differently than he does is a racist. So that kind of person I have no use for, and he just aspires to Twitter fame, and that's why I won't say his name out loud. And again, for Tucker to have given him an audience like that on air is just beyond me. This guy is absolutely nobody. Absolutely a nobody. And Tucker brings him on national air. I don't get it. I just don't. But anyway, not my show. So, whatever you got to do, Tucker, keep on, because you handled that young fella like the pup that he is. And by the way, while I'm talking about Tucker, Tucker Carlson actually had a student from Hampshire University, and I don't know how many people are familiar with what's going on at Hampshire University, but they voted to remove the American flag from their campus. And Tucker brought their student government person on that was representing this decision and supported it and was in favor of it. And Tucker, another fine job of just turning a block of cheese into a bag of shredded cheese. So anyway, and by the way, if you missed it, apparently hundreds upon hundreds of veterans and townfolk greeted the president of Hampshire University with American flags on campus the other day when he arrived for work. Beautiful sight. I saw the pictures. Absolutely beautiful. And here's another thing for Hampshire University, and I wish somebody in the Trump administration would take this up. And I'm not a big fan of the authoritarian, let's just, let's just change laws and make this way, and change laws and make this way. I'm not generally a big fan of that, but there are some things that can be done to a university that would perhaps awaken them. Like you're accepting federal monies at your university, but you won't fly the nation's flag. You get both or you get neither. How about that? I like that idea. Trump wants to make flag burning illegal. I say that would be fantastic with me. I would like to see it argued and go through the court after the court is made whole again, and have the court uphold it as a crime instead of a freedom of expression. I don't think you should be able to express yourself by expressing yourself on the flag. And I'm even a little more particular about it than most people. I don't even like clothing with the flag on it. I feel that's inappropriate. It's not made to be worn. It's our nation's flag. Just one man's opinion. But I want it done the legal way. I don't think we should be authoritarianishly trying to just revoke citizenship or throw people in jail at random over this. I want it to be argued in court, and I want it to be upheld legally. And I just want our flag to be offered the protection that it deserves. I don't think that's being unreasonable. But then again, I'm incapable of identifying racism, so what do I know? So anyway,
you racist
okay.
bastard.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said you racist bastard.
Yes, I am. I swear I am. Wait, did I say that out loud? Anyway, that covers Ohio State. Next up, oh man, I really wanted to spend the whole hour just trashing Castro. And believe it or not, folks, this is so easy. So easy. I did so much research on Castro since he died that I've actually got 30 pages of notes just on Castro. You know how much of that we're going to have to scrap tonight? We're going to have to continue this another night with Castro, but we're going to cover as much as we can. But right now, we have to move on to a different set of idiots. That's right, a different set of idiots. This whole night is just full of idiots. And so it makes sense that I would be here doing the show. What can I tell you? The fight for 15. Oh my God. These are the dumbest people in the world. They are absolutely walking out of their jobs demanding $15 an hour. Now, here's the kicker. Okay, here's the kicker. They walked out of their jobs to demand $15 an hour. And they weren't even missed. They just backfilled the positions with other workers for the day, and they kept things going as best they could. They weren't even missed. You would think somebody that was worthy of making $15 an hour, which, that is not an exorbitant amount of money. But it's also a hell of a lot better than minimum wage. Okay, I don't know what 15 an hour works out to. I suppose I could figure out the math here real quick. 15 times 40, $600 a week times 52 weeks, $31,200 a year. Can you imagine working at McDonald's for the rest of your life flipping burgers or putting burgers together or asking if you would like honey mustard or barbecue or something else at the drive-through window and making $31,200 a year for doing it. You can't even put a piece of cheese on my burger straight, and you want $31,200 a year.
Did you just say straight? You homophobe.
I'm a xenophobe too, apparently. But, yeah, I did say straight. You damn straight I said straight.
Hate to cut you off, but we're long. We need to take a break.
We are at the bottom of the hour, folks. Okay, we'll continue this when we come back. Let's wrap this, and we'll head out to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights. We're American.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby, ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
That's right. Get off the tracks. Welcome back, everybody. That's right. Glad to have you with us right here on KLRN Radio. So when we left off for commercial break, we were talking about the fight for 15 and they are and how they want $31,200 a year for flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. That just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me. First of all, can you imagine what would happen? Well, I can already tell you what's happening. McDonald's is already rolling out the touchscreen ordering kiosks. Okay? They actually broke out 12 corporately owned stores last year, broke them out and had them installed. And 4 of those, 1/3 of the 12 that they were testing the touchscreen kiosks in, they actually installed their new robot burger, or burger cooker, I should say, their robot burger cooker. This contraption is actually capable of cooking 350 patties per hour. So literally, you can run a McDonald's with 3 or 4 people. How much money will McDonald's save doing that? If you're going to get forced to pay people $15 an hour, there's going to be a lot fewer of them there. I can promise you that, folks. You're looking at a huge spike in unemployment because people are going to lose even their part-time jobs. That's right, they're going to. And automation is going to kick into overdrive where possible. Now, you're saying, well, this isn't going to affect me because I don't flip burgers for a living. I work at Walmart. Well, guess what, Walmart cashiers? Walmart's already working on a plan to tag all of their merchandise with items that would be scanned in the buggy. When the buggy gets pushed through a gateway, it just automatically, each item would be read by the scanner in the cart, and you would get your total on the screen. Boom, no cashier needed. It's kind of like the self-checkout line, except you don't have to take anything out of your buggy. You can leave everything in the buggy and just push the buggy through the little gateway, and everything gets scanned. Kroger's already got some stores doing this up and down the East Coast. And I would imagine that if there's any A&P stores left in business up in the Northeast, I think they are doing some of it too. I know they were dwindling quickly, but they were also on board with this program for the stores they had left. Folks, this is what's going to happen if the liberal left is successful in pushing this $15 per hour minimum wage. You have restaurants out in San Francisco, along the West Coast in California. They're shutting down right and left. And the number one reason cited is cost. They can't afford to stay open with the $15 per hour minimum wage that the state passed out there. That's what it boils down to. They're losing businesses. People are losing jobs. Okay? And as we come to the end of the Obama administration, you're hearing all these glorious news reports about how everything is coming back sunshine. And the economy is great now, and Obama's method worked, and here it comes, it's rounding the corner. It only took us 8 years just to get it started. And I heard this crap on the radio the other day. The Obama administration has now said, get this, okay, all you homeowners out there, you're going to love this. They said that our homes have regained all of the value that they had pre-real estate bubble. That we're back to whole on our homes. What a load of crap. It just infuriates me that these well-known, well-funded mainstream media outlets push this crap, this fake news, if you will, because it is fake. Just because the White House said it so doesn't mean it is so. Anyway, okay, we got to stop because I got to get into Castro because we just got too much to do here. Okay, so I need you to back up with me. And let me get to a point here in these notes where I can. Okay, let's talk about Fidel Castro. Okay, and I'm going to background you a little bit because a lot of people don't know his background. Okay, so Fidel was born the third of 6 children. Fidel Alejandro Castro Ruz was born August 13th, 1926, in Cuba's eastern province of Oriente. His father, Ángel, was a wealthy sugar plantation owner originally from Spain. Raised in affluence while surrounded by poverty, Castro was educated in private Jesuit boarding schools. He attended El Colegio de Belén and pitched for the school's baseball team. After graduating in 1945, Castro entered law school at the University of Havana and immersed himself in the political climate of Cuban nationalism, anti-imperialism, and socialism. In 1947, he participated in a failed effort to overthrow then-dictator Rafael Trujillo in the Dominican Republic. He then returned to the University of Havana and joined the Partido Ortodoxo, an anti-communist political party. Get that, an anti-communist political party whose stated priorities were nationalism, economic independence, and social reforms. Its founder, Cuban presidential candidate Eduardo Chivas, lost the 1948 election, but became a hero of sorts to Castro. See, he doesn't sound so bad, does he? Yeah, right. Just keep listening. In 1948, he married Mirta Diaz Balart, who hailed from a wealthy Cuban family. The couple had one child, Fidelito, before the marriage was dissolved in 1955. In 1952, Fidel Castro ran as a candidate for a seat in the Cuban parliament, but a coup led by the country's former president, General Fulgencio Batista, overthrew the existing government and canceled the election. Solidifying his power with Cuba's military and economic elite, Batista established himself as a dictator. Castro collaborated with fellow members of Partido Ortodoxo to organize an insurrection, which they launched on July 26, 1953. The attack failed and Castro was captured and sentenced to 15 years in prison. However, he was set free in 1955 under an amnesty deal with Batista's government, and Castro traveled to Mexico, where he met Ernesto Guevara, also known as Che. Guevara became an important confidant and advisor to Castro, and the pair conspired to overthrow the Batista regime by means of guerrilla warfare. On December 2nd, 1956, Castro and 81 fellow insurgents returned to Cuba near the eastern city of Manzanilla to begin their protracted guerrilla campaign. Castro organized resistance groups in cities and towns across the country. By January 1959, he had forced the Batista government to collapse. Batista fled to the Dominican Republic, and a 32-year-old Fidel Castro seized control of Cuba. He entered Havana on January 8, 1959, to wild acclaim from all quarters. Most Cubans were jubilant. Castro was promising an end to the corrupt governments that had plagued Cuba since independence. Far from any communism, Castro was promising a revolution as green as Cuba's palm trees, he even was quoted as saying, with national elections in 3 months. Private property would be secure, a free press guaranteed, friendly relationships with the U.S. were considered essential. Again, doesn't sound so bad, right? Signs that were made impromptu by the people read, "Fidel esta es tu casa." They sprung up all in fronts of thousands of Cuban homes, including mansions and humble country shacks and everything in between. The New York Times, even back in 1957, had begun singing Castro's praises since the first interview he did with them. By now, most of the international press had joined the cheerleading. Jack Parr never treated a guest on his Tonight Show as deferentially as he treated honored guest Fidel Castro. Ed Sullivan hailed him as Cuba's George Washington. Retired President Harry Truman called Castro, quote, "a good young man trying to do what's best for Cuba. We should extend him a hand," he said. The U.S. actually accorded diplomatic recognition to Castro's government more quickly than it had recognized Batista's in 1952. In fact, the promptness of this U.S. recognition set a record for recognition of a Latin American government. Usually the process took weeks. For Castro, it took mere days. Yet within 3 months of his entry into Havana, Castro's firing squads had murdered an estimated 1,100 men and boys, and Cuba's jails held 10 times that number of political prisoners. Barely a year in power, Castro was referring to the United States as, quote, "a vulture preying on humanity." And most of Cuba's newspapers and TV stations, Cuba had more TVs per capita at that time, by the way, than Germany, Canada, or France. But Castro took and put it all under government control to, quote, "better serve the people." 6 months later, he confiscated all United States-owned properties on the island, 5,911 businesses worth $2+ billion, along with most property and businesses owned by Cubans as well. On January 3rd, 1961, outgoing President Eisenhower finally declared there's a limit to what the United States, in self-respect, can endure. That limit has been breached. He broke diplomatic relations with Cuba. During the Bay of Pigs invasions in '61, Castro declared his revolution socialist, and in December of that year pronounced himself a lifelong Marxist-Leninist. Cuba was now officially communist. You know, they tell you folks that you can boil a live frog in a pot by just gradually turning up the heat. You know, he won't jump out because he can't tell that the temperature's changing. This is kind of what happened in Cuba with Castro. Nobody knew that he was changing like he was. Okay? Castro's revolution was stealth. It was done in stages. dividing and conquering. Granted, okay, evil is all hell, but brilliant in it. Conquering until he had the whole prize. First, they came for the Batistianos, and I didn't protest because I had no connection with Batista's government. Then they came for the big landowners, and I didn't protest because I didn't have a sugar mill. I had a small tobacco farm. Then they came for the big businessmen, and I didn't protest because I was a small shopkeeper, not a factory owner. Finally, they came for me. And well, we all know there was nobody left, right? Nobody left to yell to help. This is what happened in Cuba. Large land holdings were initially nationalized on the pretext of land reform, where the massive latifundia would be parceled out to landless peasants. A New York Times editorial hailed the confiscations. See, this is how the New York Times has always been, folks. This promise of social justice, they said, brought a foretaste of human dignity for millions who had little knowledge of it in Cuba's former near-feudal economy. Near-feudal economy. Remember that statement. As with so much else regarding pre-Castro Cuba, major misconceptions abound in this editorial. In the 50s, the average farm wage in near-feudal Cuba was higher than in France, Belgium, Denmark, or West Germany. According to the Geneva-based International Labor Organization, the average daily wage for an agricultural worker in Cuba in 1958 was $3. $3 a day. The average daily wage in France at the same time was $2.73. In Belgium, $2.70. In Denmark, $2.74. And in West Germany, $2.73. And in the United States, it was $4.06 a day. Also, far from huge latifundia dominating the agricultural landscape, the average Cuban farm in 1958 was actually smaller than the average farm in the U.S. That would be 140 acres in Cuba versus 195 acres in the United States. In 1958, Cuba, a nation of 6.2 million people, had 159,958 farms, 11,000 of which were tobacco farms. Only 34% of the Cuban population was rural. Confiscated farms remained in Cuban government hands as state farms on the Soviet model. By 1959, Soviet advisors from the Ukraine were already directing Castro's Institute of Agrarian Reform. As the pattern became clear, a major rebellion broke out on the Cuban countryside. According to Raul Castro, Fidel's brother and head of Cuba's military, the rebellion involved 179 different counter-revolutionary bands. This guerrilla war lasted from 1960 to 1966. It took the Castroites 6 years, tens of thousands of troops, scores of Russian advisors, squadrons of Soviet tanks, helicopters, flamethrowers, and massive and brutal relocation and re-education campaigns where thousands of rural families were uprooted at gunpoint and relocated to concentration camps at the very western tip of Cuba to finally crush the rebellion. Cuban military units commanded by Russian officers employed flamethrowers to burn hundreds of rural palm-thatched cottages. One individual who was fortunate enough to escape to Miami recalls that we fought with the fury of cornered beasts against the occupation of Cuba that the Soviet Union carried out through its proxies, Castro and Guevara. The Kennedy-Khrushchev pact that ended the Cuban Missile Crisis completely starved the rebels of even the meager supplies they had received by airdrop in 1961. Now, folks, we're getting tight on time. I'm going to stop right there in my notes. I'm going to reflect a little bit here personally. Growing up in South Florida in Dade County as a kid, My mother's second husband was from Cuba. He had escaped with his parents in 1963. So from him and from his parents, who are now deceased, I know what happened there. I've talked to enough people in the little Havana community in Dade County in my lifetime to know more than enough of what happened in Cuba. For the gigantic, ignorant ass clowns on social media romanticizing and hailing Castro as a hero, shut the hell up. Your ignorance of what happened in Cuba is the only thing that you really don't know about. When you talk to anybody over the age of 50 that came from Cuba, you will understand. You will understand why that even still, you don't hear about it like you used to, but it still happens. There are people that climb on palm trees and try to float across to Key West. They try to float that 92 miles on whatever they can get off of that island. There's a reason for it. It's not because there were such advances made in medicine and education like these idiots proclaim. I can't drive this home enough. To the moron, self-proclaimed Marxist-Leninist that I was speaking with the other day, what you didn't know about Castro was what I just covered. You didn't know how he started off, how he promised freedom for all and then reneged on the promises and just wanted to be an authoritarian Marxist-Leninist like his Russian counterparts. You didn't know that he broke the promises that he made to the people. You didn't know that he stole from the people. You didn't know that he killed the people that disagreed with him. You didn't know that he jailed the people that thought differently than him. You didn't know any of that. You just knew he was an avowed Marxist-Leninist and that it was the people's fault for not agreeing with him. You ignorant jackass. All right, folks. Enough of that. We're at the top of the hour. It is time for me to, get out of here, make way for the next show. I don't know if Rick's listening or not right now. Rick, is Jess coming up after me?
Yes, sir, she is.
Yes, sir, she is.
Okay, so we got Jesse's POV coming up right after this show tonight. Who's on after Jess, Rick?
Still got a blank for now. We're holding it for the show that I was talking about before we went on air that we haven't officially announced yet.
Okay, folks, new show coming, not officially announced yet. Hopefully to fill a blank here on Wednesday nights. You'll be back to having the trifecta, or could it even be I don't know. What do you call a four? I don't know. Anyway, just stay tuned every week, okay? We're hoping to make an official announcement about a new show in the coming days, and it's going to be right here on Wednesday night. And it's going to follow either me or Jesse's POV, whatever order it all falls out in. It'll all be right here on Wednesday night, and you're just going to be glad you tuned in right here on KLRN Radio. And we're so glad to have you that we're going to do it again next week. How about that, Rick? Sound good to you?
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right, folks. Well, you take care. Catch me on Twitter. It's at TCC_Grouchy. If you love me on Facebook before, folks, I'm going to make the effort. I'm going to put the time in and work the Facebook page again some. and we're going to do what we can with that too. So thank you. God bless. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly